Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Okay, welcome to episode 10 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. It's another international break, so we've got another international break special. I'm Matt, and joining myself, Neil and Kosi, we'll give a very warm welcome to BBC Radio Leeds sports editor, Jonathan Buchan.
Good evening, chaps.
Good evening.
Hello.
So I thought what we could do, Johnny, is you're new to Radio Leeds, welcome.
I am, thanks.
The new voice for us to listen to. Gareth Jones's voice had just got a bit yellow, hadn't it, Neil? So
he won himself through, hasn't he?
So I think a lot of people will be interested to know a bit about you and where you've come from, Johnny, and how you ended up at Radio Leeds.
You should have been watching my highlights reel on YouTube. Isn't that what happens when you sign? You all go and find those. Thanks for having me on, lads. Absolutely delighted to be invited on. Please come and have a chat with you all. I'm from the area, from West Yorkshire, born and raised in this fair city of Leeds, which might not go down too well with your listeners, but I was indeed. Worked in and around the area in West Yorkshire for a number of years. That's how I know Kosi. Known him a number of years been a bit of a
real
media,
radio funny.
Yeah,
Johnny.
real
I
radio.
used to ring you up.
Many moons
Media
ago
whore
now.
is Kosi.
Yeah,
Started a long time
I was going
ago.
to use that term. I thought I'd let you instead. Yeah, he does. Hawks himself about to the highest bidder, doesn't
Just
he?
a
So
Real radio. Emily News, remember him and the phone-in, bless him. God
Emily
rest his
News,
soul.
yeah.
They were good phone-ins then, weren't
He
they?
was hilarious, Emily News.
Yeah.
that was years ago now. Or it feels like years
How
ago.
long
And
ago
then-
was that, Johnny, that?
So that will have been around about 2006. Yeah, that I was involved in that. 2006, 2007. I think it all went bust a couple of years afterwards, which seems to be a trend of everywhere I work. So I hope I'm not a curse on BBC Radio Leeds. And then I worked in the patch as well for a couple of other commercial stations, including covering Huddersfield Town as part of Yorkshire Radio's coverage back in the old Stan Ternant days and Lee Clark days, going to 9 a.m. press conferences where he printed out all the local newspapers to have a go at those poor chaps coming down on a Friday morning so he could have a real pop at their stories, as he tended to do.
You had a ding-dong with him?
I
once,
did. I had a
Johnny.
few ding-dongs with him, yeah.
Which were your favourite ding-dong?
I think the fact that he did print out all of those articles to have a go, it may well have been Mel Booth. It was either Mel Booth or Doug. And he'd had a go at them, and I kind of stood there almost shaking my head, and he wasn't happy with that at all, and he liked to let people know he was the boss. Did Lee Clark. Stan Ternant once had a real go at me as well, which I'm going to blame Dave Throwfall Sykes for. You all know DTS. I was told, go and interview a player by the porta cabins, no problem at all, go and interview one. So I started doing that, and I suddenly heard someone barking from a distance that was getting closer and closer, and it was Stan Ternant, and he ripped me to shreds for being this young lad interviewing his players. But yes, I worked there, covered Huddersfield Town for a little bit. I've been down in Sheffield for a few years now, working on Praise or Grumble and Football Heaven down there, which is an institution down there covering the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United, amongst others. And now back here on the home patch, really pleased to be back.
So there was a time at BBC Radio Sheffield there, and there was a very special evening on the 17th of May 2017 where there was, I think somebody had a dream and it got shattered, was it?
Yeah, it did. It turned into a nightmare, didn't it, for Carlos Cavalier?
What are your sort of memories of that evening in particular?
That was a bizarre night, a really bizarre night, mainly because there were that many press there that they had to put the overflow press in one of the executive boxes that they hadn't sold out because they were charging too much money for them. So we got quite a good experience of sitting in these nice plush seats to go and watch that game. But then, and it was down the right end for the penalties actually, so that worked quite well. But yeah, it was a weird night. It really was.
Johnny,
Atmosphere-wise was strange, I thought.
Did you think, coming into that game, did you think they'd done the job at Huddersfield? Because I did. And I remember I'd had a good drink that on West Street that, and we were chatting to Wednesday. And then it was almost like we were just making up the numbers. There were only one team going to Wembley.
Yeah.
Did you get that feeling?
They thought that they'd done the job. Yeah, I think
be
they
honest,
thought
we mentioned this before, didn't we? I think
it was a Fulham Sheffield Wednesday procession, wasn't it?
Wembley were decked out ready for Wednesday and Fulham on it. If you listen to everybody, and obviously Town and Reading put a massive spanner in that one, which was a pleasure.
I mean, they weren't the most entertaining of games, were they?
They were awful.
Yeah,
They were
absolutely
dreadful
dreadful.
game,
I mean, you guys
one
don't
of the
care.
best
You
ones
take
I've
it.
ever
Yeah,
seen.
yeah, exactly. You take it however it comes, don't you?
It's still on my Sky planner. I've watched it about 7 times. Honestly, the last year.
It's a dreadful game of
But
football.
I mean, the overriding memory from a Sheffield Wednesday point of view for me was that our phoning afterwards was all dominated by where on earth was Jordan Rhodes? when we needed him. This big money signing that had come into the football club, and they needed him to take a penalty. He's your striker, your leading striker. He should be taking a penalty, and he didn't. And he wasn't even on the list, I'm told, to take one of the ones that would have been next, 6, 7 or 8, I understand. He wasn't even in that list there.
See, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Somebody who scored 40 goals for the season should be, a 12-yard free shot at goal.
Yeah.
But I remember that night, the abiding memory for me, apart from obviously the end, was when Fletcher scored. I thought I'd rocked up at a Justin Bieber concert because there were just lights all the way around. Everyone got the phone torches out.
Coldplay, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then within 2 or 3 minutes, they'd subbed him. And that killed Wednesday for me. It was a strange one because
it was an odd decision, wasn't it?
He was dominating. He just scored a cracking goal, and then they brought Jordan Rhodes on,
and he was winning everything, like you say.
And Jordan Rhodes it didn't suit Wednesday's style.
No,
it just wasn't set up for him at all.
No.
So
that allowed us to get a foot in, didn't it?
Yeah. And then obviously we brought Big Colin on and changed the game, didn't it?
Johnny, who did you think were going to win the penalties once it started?
I think
because they had Kieran Westwood, obviously, a bit of a specialist.
I mean, in front of the Cop End at Hillsborough, I think it's a fair assessment to say you're probably back Wednesday to do it. And I think that it was a surprise that they didn't. And I think most people are looking at it thinking, oh well, Rhodes hasn't taken the first, he'll be up next. Oh, he's not taken the next, right? He'll be up next. No, still not him. He'll be up next. And then for us, just from a media point of view, Carlos Carvalho pretty much came out and threw him under the bus afterwards and said he didn't want one. And that is very interesting to have a manager just after losing a penalty shootout to go to Wembley to say he didn't want one.
Just on Jordan Rhodes as well, I remember 2009-10 season, he started as our penalty taker and missed 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a good penalty record with us. I think he took a few at Blackburn, but again, 2012 Sheffield United playoff final, Jordan Rhodes not in the 5 either.
No, he wasn't then.
I guess you could play it the other way, and as we do at the BBC, play devil's advocate. You could say, well, fair enough. If he didn't fancy one, at least he had the bottle to say, do you know what? I don't want one.
Not for me.
Yeah. So you could view it that way, I guess.
Can I sing my song early? Yeah, I can. There was something in the air that night. Your pen. Yeah. Anyway. For a man who would have scared you of Huddersfield, he's just a total hero now, isn't he? I can't wait till we meet him again.
Forest,
yeah. Anyway, we've got to move on. I love reminiscing, mate. Because it's the only time we used to win back in the day.
So we opened up questions to Twitter as well, Johnny.
Always interesting, that.
It is, and to be fair, the ones that we got weren't too bad. So
that's
you got off lightly, which was good. The first one, which I thought was a really, really good one by a guy who goes by the name of Allen Lee 19, which is Neil's favourite footballer, if you've listened to one of our specials. And he says, some quite big shoes to fill in Gareth Jones leaving. And with the success the team has had over the last 2 seasons, especially winning some awards, that's the Radio Leeds team, does that add a bit more pressure to the job? And any awards you'd like to pick up this year or anything that you're aiming for?
Well, I think that you've mentioned team there, and I think Gaz would be the first to say, any award that is won by any station is a team effort, because that's ultimately what it takes. When it was, whether it was the Wembley game, the promotion for you guys that I know they won a couple of awards for, that was a big team that worked on that. It isn't just one person or one individual, so it's a big team to work on that. I don't work in radio to win awards. You don't make radio to win awards. You make radio to use the BBC slogan, educate, inform, entertain people. That's what we're in radio for. And if awards come with that as well, then great. Any award that is won, you have to enter it. We'll be entering awards always. You may as well put your name in the hat. If nothing else, it's a good night out if you get nominated, isn't it? So, and it's good for team morale, all those kinds of things. But I don't think anybody really is working in radio to go and enter awards and to go and win awards. If we win some along the way because we've done some really good radio, then great. If we don't win any awards, but people sit at home and go, actually, I really liked that bit that they did with X, Y, and Z, and we really like that programme, then that's just as important, if not more, far more important to me, that people will just sit there and listen and want to engage with it.
I say the coverage in 2016-17 was phenomenally good, and we used some of Oggy's commentary, in our sort of build up as well, if you like. And I think if you put a poll out there, with Huddersfield fans and says, do you like Paul Ogden? I think that would be pretty much 100% yes. Oggy's a massive favourite with Huddersfield fans. So I think that's not a word of warning to say, don't lose Oggy, he's our number one.
No. Listen, Oggy is fantastic.
He's great,
he's got a vocabulary I can only dream of. You know, he's like he's grown up on Shakespeare, isn't it? You know, the way that he describes games.
He's brilliant. Yeah.
He is unique, is Paul Ogden, in the best way that you can say unique. You know, that is meant as the biggest compliment possible, because he is. There aren't other commentators out there like Paul Ogden. And I think that the Huddersfield fans and we at BBC Radio Leeds are incredibly lucky to have him. Yeah, definitely.
Talking of Gareth Jones, so one thing that comes up with Huddersfield fans is the station that Huddersfield are on, which is DAB. So this is prior to your arrival.
It is, yeah, quite a few years prior, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so Huddersfield Town are essentially on DAB, Leeds FM, and Bradford are on medium wave. Before decisions like that are made, what are the deciding factors that get taken into account? What gets analysed, and how do you sort of come to that decision to do that? And what's the thinking behind it?
Well, like you say, that decision was before my time, but I know factors that influence that come down to where people can pick up certain signals. And I know that DAB has a strong signal in Huddersfield. There are still some people who can't get it, which is you know, one of the reasons why I've made the recent changes I have, because there are some people still who can't get DAB in certain areas of Huddersfield, but it certainly is a strong signal across there. And I think they looked at all of those factors, that factor in particular, when deciding who's on what frequency. Everybody wants FM. Everybody would like to be on FM. Bradford would, Huddersfield would, Leeds obviously want to be on FM. I think that everyone sees that as the holy grail of where to be. However, future-wise, digital radio is the future of radio.
Yeah, I like us on DAB. It's
you like
clearer.
It, do you?
It's
like
clearer.
It, yeah.
This is a personal choice, because I get a really good clear DAB signal where we are. It's clear on the way to the ground and on the way home. So for me, from a purely selfish point of view, I really like DAB,
and that's
because
the
it is
point.
clear.
You can't please all the people all the time.
See, I'll be honest, commentary-wise, it doesn't really affect likes of us, because generally speaking,
we're at the game.
We're there, home or away. We're in the ground, but it is nice to be able to tune in. Obviously, I think the biggest bugbear is a lot of people don't have it in the car.
Yeah.
So,
which again is one of the reasons why, you know, when I've come in, one of the things I've looked at is, well, the joint build-up and joint post-match on all frequencies allows everybody to be included, as opposed to saying to those that do have DAB, this is for you, and those who don't, sorry, you're not getting anything because you don't have it. For me, not every car has a DAB. I've only just got a car that's got a DAB, and I work in radio. You know, I should have had one. I should have been one of the first people queuing up at, you know, at the doors of the people putting DABs into cars, but they're not the cheapest, and some people still won't be able to get that, and especially the older generation. You know, you've got to remember that the local BBC radio, the majority of its listeners are of the older generation, slightly, you know, of the above 50 bracket, and, you know, even higher than that. So some people won't be able to get it. So that's one of the reasons I think joint build up and post match, which I know we'll come on to, is something that I'm quite keen on. Yeah,
we might as well dive straight onto that. So thank you to Elliot John Smith. I'm not sure if that's the real name or just after the stadium. Philip Lawton and a couple of others. So thanks for your questions, and they all sort of, I'm not going to read any specific one out, but they kind of go along the same theme as well. Sort of why the change in doing the split, and you've answered that already. But why the sort of split around the pre and post match?
I think one thing that a few people are concerned with is that if they've subscribed to HTTV, then the pre and post, they've paid a subscription to listen to Town. Yeah, and they're now getting Leeds and Bradford thrown in amongst. I know where you're coming from. I think what you've done is the right thing to do, to be honest, and try and mix and, you know, try and blend it all together, because then everybody's covered. Yeah. But I think they are the one sort of niche of the Town fans who are missing out a bit, because they have paid that prescription, that subscription. I'm obsessed.
Probably about a similar price, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm obsessed with prescriptions with tablets. But yeah, I think you know they're paying a monthly fee. Yeah. And they don't want to listen to Leeds and Bradford, but that's just one of those that's going to have to be. Yeah, well, that might be something for club to look at.
And there's a few issues there as well. You know, the commentary contracts that we have with the football clubs are for commentary, and us providing pre and post match comes down to us agreeing that with the football clubs. Some football clubs up and down the country, they've all agreed to BBC contracts, all with reductions, because the BBC is under financial pressure, and that is another reason for what we've done, which I can come on to. You know, we have to be looking at where we can save money. And football clubs up and down the country have agreed to a reduction in what the BBC pays for its commentary rights. And Huddersfield, we were delighted, agreed a new 3-year deal with us very shortly after I arrived. They knew about the changes we were making when that was agreed. They knew it was happening. It wasn't like we, suddenly dropped something on the opening day. Oh, by the way, we're also going to be talking about Leeds. That's not how it happened at all. And yeah, those people who subscribe to that service, you're right, will feel probably a bit aggrieved that they're having to listen about Huddersfield and Bradford as well. But ultimately, our product is what goes out on the radio across West Yorkshire, and they take a feed of
and
that.
And your contract is your 90 minutes.
And the contract is the 90 minutes. We are happy
Which
to
is
provide.
the key bit at the end of the day.
We're happy to provide pre and post match for the clubs. Any of the clubs that want it. Leeds don't want it. They do their own service. Bradford want it. Huddersfield want it. Yep, we'll happily provide that for them. But it does mean that they will get a joint pre-match and post-match. If all teams are playing at the same time, which I have to say as well, between the start of August and the start of December, will have only happened with all 3 teams playing at the same time 3 times. Yeah. And by that point, we'll be, 18 games into the season? Maybe not for the Premier League games, but we'll be double figures by that stage. So it's not something that happens week in, week out.
Interesting. One other thing that I think Phil mentions on there is how has it been received across the board? Because to be honest, I haven't really looked at how Leeds and Bradford fans have taken it either. Are they similar, or are they?
Well, it depends where you look for your reaction, doesn't it?
Twitter usually. Yeah.
Twitter, you look on Twitter, and I think we're going to come on to social media at some point. Twitter tends to breed a bit of negativity, doesn't it? Let's be honest. And people also don't like change, so there'll be some people who won't be happy with it. Yeah. The fact that we're getting callers, for me, is the biggest sign of it being popular. Because if we weren't getting any callers at all, then clearly no one wants to phone in. But the fact that we are getting callers after every single game, including when only Bradford City play, and Bradford notoriously don't necessarily interact with us because they also have a commercial station who covers Bradford City, who many of them are attached to, which is absolutely fantastic. But the fact we are getting reaction from all 3 of the football clubs shows that it is popular with people. And there'll be some that don't like it, absolutely. And there'll be those on Twitter who don't, and they are fully welcome to that. And I'm here tonight to try and explain a few of the reasons why. But hopefully people will grow to like it, become accustomed to it, and ultimately get involved. Because if you want to talk more about Huddersfield Town, the simple fact is pick up the phone.
That's the only way it can grow for each club, is for more fans of each club to actually ring up.
Yeah, I think the phone sounded well, Johnny. I've got to be honest with you. I thought, when I heard about it, I thought... I do remember going back, the pulse phone-ins, they were really, when Huddersfield and Bradford were battling, then a couple of seasons of that, obviously no more tasting the Gordon Watson, Kevin Gray night, obviously probably won't go into detail that, but I liked the banter, and like you said there, Johnny, if someone wants to come and have a go at Leeds or mock on Huddersfield and clappers and what have you, then bring it on. But yeah, I listened for the full hour after the Everton game, and I liked what I heard after the Palace game when I was driving to Derby. A lot of other times I'm having a beer, but so you're on about your checking people whether they've had a drink.
That
as well.
That's part of our job to make sure that
I'll be honest, I think it had gone down better.
I've had my opinion changed, Neil, I'll be honest with you. I thought it might be a bit of a flop. It's been good.
No, I agree with you. I think it'd have gone down easier, shall I say, if Town and Leeds had been in the same division.
Yeah, you think that would have gone down better?
Yeah, because you've then got
parity,
something to compare directly with. You're commenting on the same product, if you like. And
that's a good point.
Same teams that you're going to be coming up against, and vice versa.
I suppose, Johnny, for a question for you, when United and Wednesday have been in the same division, and obviously other years they've not been, have you noticed what Neil said there? Massive difference.
The best thing that could happen for Radio Sheffield when we were there is that Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday were back in the same division. Because it does spark it into life. Yeah. And you're right, you'll get more callers, because what you'll also get is, especially on the days when the teams play each other, a lot of build-up, a lot of fallout to it. Yeah. Every little single part of the game will be analysed in depth.
And hoping for Radio Gold, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly, and just hoping no one swears. Which is the big thing.
Going to the or Janssen then.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're right. Them being in the same division actually, would probably spark them off against each other. Yeah. But I think the fact that, and this is something that we do, and again in Sheffield, this isn't something that they do down there, and they've got 6 clubs, bear in mind, not just 3. They've got 6 clubs to cover. They don't keep the pundits on the phone-in. The phone-in is a presenter speaking to the fans. I think it's important that we keep the pundits on the phone-in, because people want to be able to come on and challenge Matt Glennon over his views on Van La Parra.
As Kosi did it the other way, famously.
Yeah, exactly. People want to be able to do that. And I think it's as the BBC, for me, we should be there as the voice of the public, and we should be allowing those voices on, not just basing all of our post-match reaction on texts and tweets.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, again, with the fact that a lot of our listenership is of the older generation, they're not going to be involved with Twitter and social media. Therefore, we need to give everybody that platform, whether they're a 10-year-old kid, as we've had a couple of youngsters phone up, who's going to his first game, or whether it's a 90-year-old guy who's, you know, in his 50th season watching a football club. They all need to be able to have that platform.
The trouble is with the text and tweets, you don't know. Of course, there could be wind-up.
Could be wind-ups
like you see on Twitter day in, day out, so you don't know.
But some would say the callers could be as well. And in Sheffield, every so often, you'd get a caller that you knew was a Sheffield United fan talking about Sheffield Wednesday because they wanted to stoke it up. That can happen. But it's our job then as the presenters to almost have a bit of a trained ear to that and try and spot them and make sure you move them on quickly. Yeah, I think it's fairly easy to do,
Okay, so I think the message is that how it is at the minute is here to stay, definitely.
Yeah. We always review everything that we're doing.
Embrace it.
Every single programme that we do gets reviewed on the BBC, you know, so you're always looking at it. But ultimately, I think it's really important that we have the voices of the fans on the show. And phone up, give us a call, give us a try. That's all we ask you to do. Come on and have a conversation with us like I'm having a conversation with you guys. It is literally the same as what we're doing now. It is you coming on telling us what you thought to the game. Ultimately, you're the ones that are paying to go watch these games. You're the ones who are travelling hundreds of miles up and down the country to do it. Come on and give us a call and have a chat with us. And, you know, Matt Glennon would love to chat to Huddersfield Town fans. He does. I was with him last night and we were talking about a few show ideas. And, you know, he was saying, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic that we can get on to the fans and actually speak to them, those who want to come on and have a chat with us. And it's important that you do, you know. So, again, the message is, pick up the phone, give us a call.
So is Matt on every week, or is he any plans to rotate him? As I've
Matt
had a DM
is Mr.
about?
Huddersfield Town for us. So him and Oggy work together incredibly well. You know, Matt Glennon, I can tell you, and this is an exclusive for you here. Listen to this.
Yes.
Matt Glennon is going to be having his own Monday night show. So he will be with you every Monday night from the 5th of November, so obviously ahead of the Fulham game. That's when he's going to be on from 6 o'clock, and every Monday night he'll be with you between 6 and 7. Not just talking about Huddersfield Town in the same way that Noel Whelan on a Friday talks about all three of the clubs and then other wider issues within football. Matt will be doing the same on a Monday. So we were bouncing a few ideas around about that last night. So it's an exclusive for you.
Excellent. So I'll look forward to that, definitely.
I'll look forward to giving him a ring.
Do it.
Chatting Van La Parra.
So you mentioned Twitter and other mediums, and how do you find... So I say back when Kosi's on about Pulse there, you know, I remember the Pulse. I used to try and ring in for Pulse penalties every week, and because I lived in BD, in a Bradford area near you, Neil, every time I rang up, they always used to think, he's a Bradford fan on a wind-up here. And it was quite good. Ding dong, there was a real rivalry with there's a whole Jeffrey Richmond thing kicking off there. It was good. So moving on from that, pretty much radio, telephone, the only devices and the only inputs that people have to get in touch, apart from send letters, but I don't think anybody does that anymore, does it? How have platforms such as Twitter, internet radio, social media itself, how have they impacted upon how popular the station is? And do you find that you have to spread yourself across the board, such as stream it on Facebook, stream it on Twitter, Periscope, etc., etc.? How hard is it now to get radio leads and you know, Matt Glennon's new show? How hard is it to get it out there with so many platforms offering content?
I think that when you come to Twitter and the likes, they are a tool of the trade now, you know, but that's what I see them as. You know, it's somewhere where you can get news out there, you can try and judge opinion, but again, like I say, that's, I think, something that's maybe getting a little bit less important to try and judge opinion via Twitter, because I do think it's more of a negative platform than a positive platform.
There's
personally. That's my take on it. And you know, I've seen quite a few people recently saying I'm coming off of it because of X, Y, and Z, because it's, you know, it affects people's mental health.
So you can't always, you can't always make a really good point in the short space that Twitter gives you, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. Which again is another reason I want people to call us, because it's much easier to have a conversation, a proper conversation, via that, you know, format than it is to do it on Twitter. It's certainly a tool of the trade. It's something that we can use to try and get the message out there of what we're doing. This is what show's on now. This is what's going to be coming up next. This is what we've got a little bit later on. All that kind of stuff. So there's all these kinds of things that we can be, you know, certainly looking at. But I think ultimately it comes down to the fact that we are a radio station. So, you know, we have to make sure we're trying to drive people back to listen to the radio station. Yeah. You know, we can do little Facebook videos, but it's quality over quantity for me on them. Let's make them really good. Let's make them less often.
You see, I just don't associate Facebook with Radio Leeds.
No.
If I want to listen to Radio Leeds and I've missed it, you've either got it live as it's on, or it's iPlayer stuff.
Yeah. But that's what the iPlayer's there for.
The iPlayer stuff's brilliant.
Oh, it's fantastic, yeah.
Because if I can't listen to the football hour one night, I'll wait what missus has gone to bed. So there we go.
Well, it's the same with me. I listen to a lot. I listen to a lot of radio, obviously, and I listen to a lot of it on demand when I want to listen to it. You know, not people aren't. You know, it's not linear anymore. People don't sit down to listen to things over long periods. They might do for live sport. That's one thing that live sport probably does that no other format does anymore. You know, but it's almost our own version of podcasting. Yeah. You know, that's what the iPlayer is. It gives you another chance to listen to it whenever you want. And you know, we can still do podcasts, and we are going to do some podcasts and the likes. But it is certainly, I think social media is something you have to be careful with. But I think it can be used if used in the right way, yeah.
And one thing, Kosi, you've mentioned as well, is you're looking at threats to local radio as well. So Sky Sports have started streaming recently.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. What's that division that's streaming? Championship. Oh, I remember that division. Yeah,
don't forget that.
Be careful on that one.
I'm really big time now. My only deal in Liverpool at home, but no. I've been watching it from afar with a bit of interest, really, in that as well. I mean, Johnny, you could never mind. I suppose there's obviously illegal streams, which is a massive threat to you. Or I know we've chatted about it kind of off, you know, when we've had a drink. And interesting now, pretty much every Premier League, even though they say it's not. Everybody can get access to it. They know where to go for it. There's even pubs, and I know they're saying they're going to shut everything down, but that's not happening. So you've got that, and then obviously this has appeared, and the one thing that really interested me was so we knew it would come in this season, the midweek games, and then all of a sudden I don't know if it happened this international weekend, but I know it happened the other one because the Accrington chairman went nuts. They decided on a Saturday afternoon at 3:00, which is a blanket. Kind of period that's come up there, and 11 Sports, who I'm a Spanish subscriber to the La Liga, they've in the last 3 or 4 match days they've gone, forget that blanket, they're showing Barcelona Real Madrid games at 3:00. And the Premier League, they must obviously have found a loophole, because it's obviously Radrizzani who's kind of heads that up. So I suppose all that is. Do you see that as a threat, or can you use it maybe to your advantage, Johnny? Because it's happening. You're not naive enough to not to know that.
No,
what's your plan B, mate, on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a radio audience that we have is very different to a TV audience. You know, there are people who will want to sit down and listen to the radio whilst they're pottering around doing bits and pieces, on an afternoon. And ultimately, our audience are at games, like you said yourself, you barely hear the commentaries because you're at the games, and that's part of it, and that has always been the case. Some of the biggest games that I've commentated on will have been some of the smallest audiences that I've broadcast to, because you've been at Wembley covering a game when everybody supporting that club's at Wembley, and those who aren't are watching it on the telly. So it's
even the floaters who would listen to it are there as well.
Exactly. So it's a big game for you in your personal career and for the football club and all that kind of stuff. But your audience is probably tiny because of the fact that they're all there and all at the match, as they should be. So in terms of Sky showing these games behind the red button and all the midweekers, I'm not a fan of it. Of course, I would say that because I work in radio, but I can understand why supporters like it, because they get the option to be able to watch any game they want. I've not seen any of it myself, because obviously I'm out at games, but I've heard mixed reviews about the quality of it. Single cam, some of it is, no replays, poor commentary I've heard as well.
Can I be sad, Johnny? And
I could be wrong, but...
I had, let's just say, I were bored last Tuesday, flicking about my system, shall we say, and I bumped into the... I don't know that means. Sad. Bradford Oldham. This honestly...
You didn't.
I did.
It sounds like
but
a
the
really
one thing
bad
that was
poker
striking,
game,
apart from obviously there were no one there and Oldham were pretty good, which shocked me in that as well, but they used your commentary. And I think, is that a deal that Bradford have got to play on, what is it called? I follow. So is that...
So that was via, if that was via the football club's website, then that is the deal that's in place.
So if Huddersfield got relegated, then they will be using kind of Oggy and Matt for a championship.
Yeah, it'd be our coverage.
You see, the thing where it'll kill it is, like me and Matt were talking before we started, we said, like, say we go down and we've got Rotherham away next year on a Tuesday night, and you're having a real stinker at work, and you're not going to get out on time, are you going to break your neck to actually get there for the game? Are you going to go, I'll watch it on TV?
I think it's a very dangerous game.
Yeah,
I think this is a very dangerous path. And let's not blame Sky for this. Let's blame the Football League for this, because they're the ones that are allowing this to happen ultimately, and they're the custodians of the product.
Pound notes.
Yeah, and so that's the issue. Sky, of course, given the option, are going to do this.
Of course they are,
so you can't blame Sky for it.
No.
For me, it's a very worrying path that they're going down, and some of the bigger clubs will be able to hold their own with their iFollow services, charging £10 a game. Some of the big clubs will. But as an example as to those that won't, Sheffield Wednesday recently refused to do a deal with BBC Radio Sheffield for a new commentary deal, and they said, no, we'll put it behind the paywall and we'll charge people $10.99 or whatever the fee was, put it behind the paywall, and then we'll get an upsurge in turn because it won't be on BBC Radio Sheffield anymore. Well, they didn't get an upsurge in people taking that up, and 2 months later they went back and renegotiated and did a deal for the exact same amount of money that was originally offered. So it just shows that even clubs the size of Sheffield Wednesday think that they will get that massive surge in people going via the website, and they didn't get it.
People won't be blatantly mugged off and
no, Neil, and it's funny you should say that. I see some of the feedback because these God, is some of the work is that, but these I follow things. They don't show any replays, so the goal's gone. And people now, that some of the streaming stuff, the ice hockey do a lot of these webcasts, but honestly, it's like watching BBC. It's brilliant, replays everything, and people are paying 10, 11 quid. And they don't mind doing it for top quality service. Some of this stuff that it's got past the stage now where we can watch a game on, kind of a streaming service, which it is. If people are paying 10, 11 pounds, they want to watch.
They want quality, yeah.
So they won't be subscribed. It'd be interesting to see where it goes because it's going to mean the clubs. I mean, I know kind of Leeds don't use your commentary, do they? They use their own, so maybe they're kind of, obviously Radrizzani, that's his kind of, his business really, and that he gets involved with media, so it'll be interesting to see where it all ends up, but I don't know about you next year, Neil. I mean, I'm a bad example because I'd probably go to Bournemouth on a Tuesday night if we went down, whatever, but I don't think I'd pay £11 to watch a stream Burton Huddersfield, and I'd rather
not unless it's a good quality.
I'd rather chuck 20 quid petrol in car and go spend 25 quid on a ticket and be there.
Yeah. But
you can't compare it.
But are we the dying breed, mate?
Well, you'll see, because say we are away at Burton next year on a Tuesday night, there'll be 600 in it away, and instead of 1,500 if it's a,
Have you seen any figures, Johnny, for any of these early?
No, I've not seen the numbers. I've not seen the numbers. I will be very interested though to see them, and I'd be very interested, as you say, Neil, to look at what it actually does for attendances going forward.
It'll kill them,
because I think it will, especially away attendances. And for me, going to games, going to away games, I used to go home and away, and they were the games that you enjoyed the most. And the away fans coming to grounds is what creates the atmosphere a lot of the time. And if those numbers are dwindling, which they will, it's going to impact the atmosphere.
Wolves away.
Are Ipswich fans going to travel on a Wednesday night when they can watch it every week on telly?
Wolves away, mate, is going to be a great example. It's almost like a
practice
trial.
Run.
It's almost like a practice run on that Sunday. Because I think we all know what's going to happen.
I don't think we'll take 1,000 down there for the Sunday afternoon 4 o'clock.
Obviously, we didn't for the playoffs clinching season, but that for me that is it, because people are just going to say it's not a great away day, not a great city. No offence to them from Wolverhampton to go, and that's what's the incentive?
What's also interesting, you'll know more about this, Kosi, because of the fact that you spend half of your year sunning up in Spain. Is that
cut that out, Matt? Pay my taxes.
Is that the big clubs in Spain have their own broadcast deals, don't they?
Yeah,
and it wouldn't surprise me if someone such as Mr. Radrizzani at Leeds, with his 11 Sports,
he's trying, isn't he?
He certainly isn't a fan of Sky. And if you've seen any of the games recently, the Leeds ones, which I'm sure none of your listeners have, because why would they? But 11 Sports was at one stage on all of the electronic boards around the Ellen Road pitch, whilst the game has been shown on Sky, which didn't go down well.
But I can kind of get his point, though.
It's his business.
He's got a point, though. He's got a point, lads. And then he's not let me popular on it.
The point being that I could see a time in the not too distant future where some of the clubs, the bigger clubs in the country, in the Premier League, top end of the Premier League, will start pushing for their own deals, because they will feel they can sell it around the world.
Leeds are on 20 odd times a season.
Yeah, they're nearly at that number already.
And we're on half that many in Premier League.
Yeah.
And out the money that we get absolutely dwarfs what they get.
The stat that came out last week was that Leeds get 2 million for being on the telly last year, and they were on, like you say, 20 times or so. Yeah. The team's relegated from the Premier League.
100 million.
100 million.
Much, yeah.
It's different ball game, isn't it? So you can understand as a man who owns, a media company, why you'd be a little bit aggrieved that is the case. Yeah. Doesn't mean that Premier League 2 is the right option, though. I've got to say that.
It's quite funny what they've done in Spain, because there is obviously a massive difference in TV money, but the president of the league kind of had a look at it, and he's given more money to the, kind of to the other teams, apart from Barca and Real Madrid. But the gap, percentage-wise, is still the same. It's just that they've got kind of more money and that as well. So nothing's really changed, really. It's just that they've got a little bit more money to maybe buy from, other leagues and things like that. So the teams are spending a bit more money on other players. But, the Premier League, as we know, Neil, it's like, as it is now, it's so obvious, top 5, 6, more TV money for TV. It's going to kill it even more.
Chelsea chairman put out some quite derogatory comments last week or week before. Basically saying it's all about the top 6 and they're not bothered what happens to teams below, and try to sort of umbrella themselves as a top 6 brand. And it's true. It is true.
It is true, and because no one cares about
it's happening without it actually being.
Huddersfield v Fulham, mate. Let's be honest. In a few weeks, come on.
On Monday night,
who's going to be watching that?
Nobody.
Apart from Huddersfield
Fulham fans are out travelling.
It ticks for Sky.
Hour, mate, and they'll switch it off.
But it ticks for Sky having Fulham's game, one of their games, and having one of Huddersfield games, because they've got to have so many. Yeah. So it ticks that off on a Monday night, on Bonfire night. I think that's unfair. I think it's really unfair to the Town fans and the Fulham fans, personally.
Because I think that'll be a good game, Johnny. Unlike, at least it's a proper game to watch, and it's going to be a contest. I mean, we'll come on the Liverpool game later on, but come on.
It'll cause umpteen. They don't think about the umpteen family arguments and stuff that they're going to cause. No. Because they're going to split families that night, because little lad's going to want to go to football, and daughters, it sounds very sexist this, daughters want to go watch a firework display, or vice versa.
Where's Barry Rubery when you need him,
The things that they do as a family, and all of a sudden Monday night and Sky throws spanner in versus
so
live
quick
football.
Is this kind of thing, though, the streaming, everything.
But then you feel harsh complaining, don't you? Because it's helped us sign players that are worth 10, 12, 15 million quid. Yeah. So it's...
Apparently.
Well, yeah, but there's two ways of looking at it, isn't there? And if we do get relegated, we're not in a bad position, are we?
Okay, yeah, I'll speak now. Good try. So yeah, great. So
I thought you were going to put kettle on.
I've gone. So my only problem with the way football's going, I have a bit of a bee in my bonnet about how football is portrayed in the media, and I find that everything is tilted and heavily weighted towards the top 6, and I think subconsciously it alters people's perceptions as well. So Kosi's kind of said, who cares about Huddersfield and Fulham? And that's because people are conditioned, I think, to think that way. Burnley and Huddersfield is probably one of the most unglamorous. Is unglamorous a word? But it's the least glamorous game.
We're a spot on the backside, aren't we? Basically.
Yeah, and
we are, aren't we?
It shocked me, lads. I thought coming in, I'm maybe naive. I thought everyone would care, but they just don't, and it's made me really sad. It's like Huddersfield, Liverpool. Let's be honest, they build. I can tell you what Beachy Spot are going to do now. They'll get in there. They'll have a big interview with Jurgen Klopp. They'll probably have an Ed James Milner. They'll show Liverpool warming up, and then, by the way, there's Lauren de Poitre, and he's got a goal against Chelsea, and that'll be it. And your game will be on. Then your post-match with Jay Comfrey will be exactly the same. Liverpool fans. Oh, we've got David Ragnier. Yeah, how did it go against your old mate?
And let's be fair. Rubbish, mate. The only reason that we're on against Liverpool is the Wagner Klopp connection, because they're not bright enough to think of something else. It's that.
But this is my problem. This is the bias that it shows, and then people just give up. So eventually Huddersfield aren't going to build a new fan base by having this kind of like almost scornful outlook from Sky and media. No one's going to really. It's not cool to.
But that also is therefore why the locals, such as ourselves, are so important to the football clubs. Nice. And that isn't me just bigging up the job we pay. I mean the local papers as well. And papers are in huge bother at the minute. Yeah, more so than local BBC radio. But it is why they are so vitally important for that link between the community and the clubs. And again, the reason why we want listeners to give us a call and be on air is because we are part of the community. You know, the only difference between me sitting there and hosting the radio show and one of you guys doing it is that I just wanted to go down the media path at a young age and followed it. That's the only difference. That's the only difference. Yeah. Doesn't mean I know anything more about football than you guys. I probably know less. So it doesn't. Do you know what I mean?
Done pretty well so far, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. It's no different, but it's why the link between the football clubs and the local media outlets is so important, because Huddersfield aren't going to get the same coverage on Sky TV.
I think that's why there's been changes at our local paper, shall we say?
There have been, haven't they? Yeah, a little bit before my arrival, but I'm fully briefed.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, fully briefed on
complete shambles, and I think that's that needed to change and has changed.
Johnny, I got an interesting question for you, and one I mentioned earlier, but we've mentioned about Premier League. Is the Premier League, from what you've experienced, because I don't, so not having a dig, but obviously we've not experienced with Leeds or Sheffield clubs, but do you think it's cracked up to be, from the experience from you broadcasting the game? I know there's going to be more people at your presses pre-match and what have you, but I'm left feeling a little bit underwhelmed by it all.
Really? Maybe, is that because you're in a second season now? Or?
No, I hate aspects of the Premier League as well.
I don't know. Yeah, have you come in and think, wow, this is Premier League? Well, obviously you've noticed our ground's transformed and stuff. And,
it has, but not media-wise, really. I mean, the press, I suppose the press room has. That's maybe, so the press room has, and it is a massive upgrade on what there was before. So fully fair credit, because they realised at the football club they were going to have ridiculous amounts of people there.
You did the Everton game. What about the standard of the football, mate? Have you thought, wow, this is top quality, or not really?
No, not particularly. I think that the Huddersfield Cardiff game is one of the worst games I've watched for a long, long time. And I came away from that game thinking those two are going to struggle to not be the bottom two this season if they play it in that style. Because I think the following day was Everton West Ham. I think was the following day, and I watched that on the telly, and it was played at just a different pace to what the game. And I get that there was probably, a fear of losing rather than a need to win in the Huddersfield Cardiff game. I get that, so that probably had an impact on it. I was at the Spurs game. I went to Goodison as well. I was at the Chelsea game. You certainly see some incredible talented footballers, and at times you do see some lovely stuff that when I then compare it to going and watching Leeds in the Championship or going and watching Bradford in League One, or as I was the other night at Checkatrade, there's certainly a massive gulf of a difference there. But is it the be all and end all? Is it what it's all cracked up to be?
Do you know what I miss?
It's nice going to Arsenal and likes it in the press wise, because you get sweets and nice food and all that kind of stuff, and we tend to judge it on what food you get in the media. But I kind of see what you mean. I'm surprised that you're underwhelmed by it, though. I'm surprised by that.
I love it. I like the fact that we've got there and we're sort of living it, and you do see all these great players. The one thing I do miss is the amount of games. Every other week's an international break.
Yeah.
And you get going and you stop.
Too many
and you get going and you stop.
Midweeks
and midweeks. There's nothing to break your week up. You used to love getting home. It's
2 or 3 o'clock.
Straight out at the door to wherever, flying down M1 or just nipping to home ground, and it.
We've got that local derby against Bournemouth coming up there.
We have,
I've just today rotated that, so myself and Paul Ogden and Matt Glennon will be on our way. We'll be following you down there.
Say the love, please.
We'll let you know where we are afterwards.
It's stuff like that's just beyond ridiculous. Scheduling Bournemouth against Huddersfield for a midweek.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
And I remember last year the game
we directly like the Championship as well. Midweek,
but directly before Christmas last year, the last Saturday before Christmas, we were away at Southampton, and this year, the last Saturday before Christmas, we're at home at Southampton.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
we touched on
it's just bonkers. Isn't
it's
it?
not. That's not a random fixture computer, is it?
No, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
We touched on that last pod, but football snobbery, Johnny, and you. Opinion on it? There's such snobbery in the Premier League. It's absolutely,
that's
it's horrible.
It's
miles more than I ever thought. When you see it in your face, and Burnley fans were singing "No One Likes Us," and a lot of Huddersfield fans didn't get what they mean, but I totally get it. When they qualified for Europe, mate, there's some of their stuff on the Twitter. There were people tweeting pictures of boarded up shop windows. This is when Olympiacos came over, they were trying to jazz it up, saying we're glad to be here, but just the snobbery, and then I absolutely hate it. It's almost like it's divine right for 16, 17s and the rest of us. I know, in fact, we are making up the numbers and league points and what have you, but it's horrible. It's almost, you just watch the BT Sport cover on Saturday, it'll almost be like, Huddersfield, what's the point? Because it's all about Liverpool.
What are they doing here?
Yeah, exactly. And that stuff, it shocked me more. I knew we'd get it, but it's more than I thought.
We're at Sideshow Saturday, and we're at home.
Yeah.
It's sideshow. It's a fact.
And that's my beef with the Premier League.
Yeah.
The snobbery, you're right. Snobbery is the way to put it. It is. If you're not in the Premier League, it's almost looked down
I bet
upon.
you'll get it, Johnny, don't you, from local radio? There'll be like Chinese media companies and American people broadcasting out of the stations.
It's more the
grounds and
it's
stuff.
not even the Americans and the Canadians and the
Is it not
Danish.
even that?
It's
Is it
the
even-
Brits. It's the big names as such in British broadcasting.
Yeah.
Who at times, some are great, some are fantastic. I'm not going to name any individuals on any front. Some are fantastic. Some do look at you. What, you're a local?
Yeah.
You're local radio, are you? Not bothered. Not, it's
they're,
not like you
they're
don't.
judging you very much.
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
Town are judged as a Premier League
Yeah,
team.
absolutely. At times, and like I say, not all of them, but certain ones you do get a bit of attitude from, and other ones you'll get really friendly response from. And if you go and speak to them, they'll have a nice chat with you. You know, it all just depends on.
That's
Are
what
you,
I
are
like
you going to
Dean.
dish the dirt on
who you
who?
approach.
Are you gonna-
No names shall be mentioned.
That's what I like.
You never know, I
Dean.
might have to work for him.
Dean's,
Or with them.
Press pause.
Dean's so calm about it because, like, when there were a lot of stuff put that to him, Johnny, when you did that one-on-one with him, but it's like he just says it is what it is, and he always does because, like, people have always mentioned about Huddersfield small club, whatever. It is what it is. I just part of me wonders when the microphones are turned off and like when he's filming, I'm like, I'm sick of it, so and so. But he's just really calm about it, and yeah, I think maybe we should be a little bit more. But it has shocked me and disappointed me really because English football were. Maybe it always was like that. Maybe I'm just naive, but
No, I don't think it was.
Yeah, honestly,
I'll be honest though. When the day arrives and we're playing Swindon on a Tuesday night and there's 12,000 there again, you'll look back and you'll
12, even that.
Remember we beat Man U?
I don't want to go
You
down,
will?
Neil, but
Yeah, but you won't change it though. You won't change it. It's all about those experiences.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's not all about being in the Premier League year in year out and finishing mid-table.
No.
It's about those experiences
It's
of
those Tuesdays away at Yeovil and what have you that make
you've got to suffer
now.
the lows to feel those
Yeah.
highs.
And
I totally agree.
There's people who slate us now as own fans, you know, that we're rubbish, we're this, we're that, we're the. This is best it's been. Come on.
Yeah.
You know, we're fighting in a totally unparalleled league.
Yeah.
You know, we are, us and Cardiff.
And remember, just down the road, there's a generation of fans who have never seen what you guys are seeing.
Exactly, yeah.
14 years.
Yeah.
You know, there's kids who have never even seen it, don't even have any clue what it is like.
I mean, you've mentioned it before, Matt, on the air that, you know, being a northern team clearly doesn't help either.
No.
Because people absolutely fawn over Bournemouth.
I
There's
think there's
11,000 there every week.
Yeah.
I would say there's a
There's a
And they've
huge,
got a billionaire funding them. It's not, it's not
exactly.
little
It's
local
not
businessmen
little
who's,
Bournemouth
yeah.
that broke
The way up and
FFP
work
getting
the way.
promoted.
You know, and then got fined 5 million. Come on.
Well, what you pick up there, Johnny, I think, Leeds are going to get back up there. People won't want to hear it. But the goalpost has totally changed since they were down in 2000. They'll just think they're going to come up and it's like hit the top 6. And it's going to take ridiculous money. They're just going to be making up the numbers like we are. And that's where the games change. Yeah, you get your Leicesters and your Burnleys now and again. But it's moved on so much that Everton are a good club to judge it on. Because I think they should be better than they are. They're not happy just to be 10th.
And we should have won there.
Yeah. We're just having a go. I mean, Johnny, you did Everton.
Yeah.
So many games, you're not getting much ball in. But the Everton Burnley games, we walked out of there. We didn't win either of them. We got 2 points. But I were buzzing. I just thought we had a go.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask from your team.
We
Some
should
of
have
the
come
other
out of
games.
those 2 games with 4 points.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. And you can't knock it.
What I want to say about that Everton game as well is that was my first taste of Huddersfield away fans in the Premier League. And I thought they were amazing that day.
phenomenal.
Over on the far side from where we were, making the noise throughout, all the way through. You know, I thought, and that isn't me just coming on a Huddersfield podcast and buttering you guys up. I thought it was an incredible atmosphere made by the Huddersfield fans.
That's the one thing that has been constantly praised since we've come up, to be fair, is our fans from opposing fans, both home and away. Because the atmosphere generated it. It's slightly dipped a little bit this season, shall we say, but last season was ridiculous.
We had a Spurs fan phone us after the game, and he was driving back home, and he phoned us just to come on and say, fair play to the town fans. They were incredible this afternoon, especially that last 15 minutes when losing a game 2-0 down, most people would go home. Yeah. But the atmosphere was brilliant. Yeah. And I've been there, I was covering the club back in League One and know what it was like back then. And it is a whole world away now.
So just a quick question I'd ask you, John, is that you went to the Everton game. How did you see the actual game panning out? how did you think?
What did I
played?
expect?
Yeah.
What beforehand, or is it?
No, during the game.
on?
How do you think Town coped, and how do you think they played? Do you think they might have? Because you're the neutral. Do you
Yeah,
think they
yeah.
deserve something? Or
Yeah, I thought you were more than valid a point, and you could and maybe should have had 3 in that
Yeah.
game. You know, it was one where it was built up quite a bit, wasn't it? Because it was heading into the international break, and I think if you hadn't got a point from that one, it would have looked and would have for a couple of weeks people been thinking, "Oh, look where we are now." It's so many games in. What was it? 4 or 5 games in. You know, look where we are, and I think that point and the performance lifted everybody for those 2 weeks. So that's the impression I got anyway. You guys can probably tell me
the
more.
reason I asked that is because the national media narrative was that Huddersfield parked the bus and didn't come out of their own half, and this is what
That's not the
sort
case,
of
is
annoys
it?
us
We
now.
were there. That wasn't the case. You know, that
And I
isn't
think it
how
was
you do
the
it.
national BBC said Huddersfield pretty much put a back 10 across and then showed absolutely no ambition. And
No, I don't agree with
Yeah.
that. I think when we got the lineup, I think we looked at it and thought it's a little bit negative.
Safe.
Yeah, safe. That's one way of putting it. Yeah, it's a little bit safe, but it doesn't mean that Huddersfield didn't have a go that day.
No.
You know, it's horses for courses. You're away from home against Everton. You're not going to go there and play, 2 centre halves and shove everybody out wide and leave yourselves open in the middle. You're not going to do it. Why would you? You'd be naive and daft to do that.
Johnny, you go back to the atmosphere. You mentioned now about our away fans, our home fans. I remember a few years ago you asked me to phone in and kind of bring in a bit of a Spanish Angle Ultras atmosphere, singing.
When I was in Sheffield, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Huddersfield are just kind of, early days of kind of bringing the,
Yeah.
as it is now, Cowshed Law, North Stand Law, what have you. And you kind of, I remember you ripping me a little bit, and I got a few tweets from some Sheffield, like Tim Pot, this, that, and the other. Now, yeah, forget the clapper's been done to death, and we've got our own views on that. But you've seen what the South Stand is producing. A morgue of a ground, in my opinion. Before we used to chat about how quiet it used to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you changed your opinion on having kind of a singing ultra area behind the goal? Because you probably haven't seen Crystal Palace, although theirs is kind of, I think, subsided a little bit. But have you? If I rung again, would you say, Kosi, you were right and I was wrong?
I wouldn't say I've changed my opinion on organised fun. Because I'm not a fan of that just in general. Whether that's goal music or anything like that, I'm not a fan of that in general. However, you make a good point that the atmosphere at the John Smiths now is the best I've certainly ever seen it, without doubt. And that doesn't matter whether you're playing Chelsea or whether you're playing Tottenham or whether you're playing Cardiff. Yeah, that the Cowshed Loyal are doing an incredible job and making a fantastic noise and are very much needed, I think, for Huddersfield. You guys will be able to tell me more than about last year how much of an impact that atmosphere had on results at home. Yeah, exactly. So have I changed my opinion? Yeah, maybe I've changed my opinion a little bit. Doesn't mean that if another club suddenly went, do you know what, we're going to have an organised singing section, I wouldn't roll my eyes, because I probably would. I'd probably still roll my eyes and go, oh God. But I think the Huddersfield fans have taken it on board, adopted it quite well. The German model as such, with the flags and the banners, and I think that's quite. I think it's worked quite well.
Noise.
Yeah.
I don't like drums.
Yeah.
The worst.
The England band.
Here we go.
Sheffield Wednesday band. Go to England.
Sheffield
games.
Wednesday fans don't like the Sheffield Wednesday band.
I hate it. I don't like the clappers, but to be fair, those now, they're almost get more in, get them even louder, because it just cheeses that many people off. It winds so many people up, and we're just used to them. I don't like them, but I'm used to them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's interesting.
It boils a lot
Fulham.
of bodily fluids.
Fulham, Southampton and Leicester have had them, but they don't seem to get half the publicity, because I think people are bitter because everyone goes on.
And Leicester have goal music as well.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
These are a team who wouldn't lead.
But Leicester won a Premier League win, but nothing seemed to be said. I think it's a bit of jealousy because people are saying, "Us that atmosphere, us that atmosphere." And
Clappers, a drum, and goal music.
I hate the clappers, but
English champions.
Yeah, it
It's the way to go, isn't it?
Maybe that's the future.
We just need to add goal music. See if you're listening, Dean Oil. Goal music, and we're going to be English champions.
No,
I am only joking. I hate goal music.
Johnny, we mentioned Dean there. You had him in.
Yeah.
What's been your kind of? I mean, that hour obviously he must have had a bit of off the record. What's your dealings with Dean? You must have heard so much about him. Obviously, without him, we wouldn't be where we are today. He's a god in Huddersfield fans' eyes. What's
he's
your
great.
dealings with him?
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He is a local guy who has the club right at the centre of his heart.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is all any football fans of any football club can dream of.
Yeah.
You know, look at the messes that have happened down the road, you know, from having people who aren't associated with the football club. And I think, you know, when he came in for that hour, and I've interviewed him a number of times before, but quite a few years, you know, back down the line. But when he came in for that hour, he's so open and honest, and he tells it exactly as it is. He tells people just enough that they need to know, but obviously he's a businessman, so he's going to keep certain stuff to himself, which is absolutely the right way to do it. But what he can tell you, he will tell you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest credit to him.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, it really is. It really is refreshing.
I mean, we are...
And look at the work he does in the community as well. You know, Pedal for Pounds has been announced tonight.
He's
you know,
beyond reproach
Yeah.
as far as we're concerned. Everything that he does is golden.
And I'd be interested to see what you guys think of this, but the way that he's planning on taking the club forwards in terms of putting the money into Canalside, the £20 million investment going in there. Yes, some people won't be happy with it because of the fact it's turfing out the public and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's just modern football. That has to happen. But it is such a sensible and correct way to invest the money that Huddersfield Town has from the Premier League era.
It will attract a better standard of player.
It will mean that it isn't just this 2-year period that Huddersfield Town have in the Premier League. It'll mean that they are able to compete at the top end of the Championship. Should they go down, they'll be able to compete at the top end of the Championship for the best players, and also they'll have the facilities to be able to keep themselves in that mix on a regular basis.
It's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
Do you spend £20 million and get a Premier League top-class facility, or do you spend it on two £10 million players and still let Bill and Ben have a pint before an home game every 2 weeks?
Yeah. We had this conversation, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, and essentially there's a club, and we said the same thing, there's a club quite close to here who had 2 years in the Premier League and didn't invest in the infrastructure, and they ended up spending longer in the bottom tier than we have in our recently than we have in our entire history.
I drove past that on the way back from Guiseley game. I was like,
Crackers,
I couldn't believe it. It's like, imagine
and it is literally roadside.
And can you imagine Jack Payne? I mean, he must think like Canalside's like New Camp or something.
I mentioned the other week when he used to run
run
Sunday teams, we had a couple of semi-finals on pitches next to them.
Yeah,
this is a Sunday team. You know, you're training, playing alongside, you know, a supposed professional outlet, and they're totally wasted their
Just
chance.
having a legacy for me, Neil. I've been itching to see what. Yeah, we've had a few porter cameras up more shops, but if we went down the season, at least, you know, what can remember out of Premier League? Yeah, great memories, but a training ground for me, that's big. That maybe not for some people.
That's tangible,
isn't
it?
For me.
That's almost like tangible success for a club that
You've got to have
can't
something
get into the
to
top
show,
six.
not just a 2-1 win over Man U 2 years ago. You know, by the time it's...
The memories will always be there, won't they?
Yeah,
but what have you got in bricks and mortar?
Something's got to work,
Yeah.
Something's got to keep working for you after the Premier League, doesn't it?
And he's making us completely sustainable, but at a bloody good level.
Yeah.
Which is crucial.
So that leads on to a question as well, Kosi, that I think you had, which, Johnny, you covered Huddersfield in League One. Your favourite ding-dong was Stan Turner.
Yeah.
Remember that Ganser, Johnny?
On purpose.
He designed on a killer man. I remember you once up there. But it was Rotherham. I might be
shaky legs.
How has the infrastructure changed at Huddersfield from those days by the porter cabins to what it is now? How does it look for you now you've come back and seen what's going on?
Well, and we're talking about what it might look like in another couple of years' time as well, aren't we? So, you know, who knows what it might look like in a couple of years' time. But even Canalside, from the time when I was previously there, you know, when Jordan Rhodes was getting his Player of the Month awards, you know, on the side of the bowling green there, and you know, and
we've got some Mabel behind you.
Shit butter.
Yeah, good shot, Doris. Good shot. And you know, the way it's grown from then, you know, behind the scenes, and the fact that they've got, you know, fingerprint technology and all those little things, and you know, we did a show there at the start of the year, and I went down there before the season had even kicked off to have a meeting as well, and it's just again, it's still got at the moment, I think, in Canalside, it's still got that little bit of community to it, which it does have with the bar and all that. But I get why that they're bringing that out of it. I think it's the right choice to do that,
I do as well.
even though not universally popular. Right choice to do it. But the club has just dramatically changed over the years. And you mentioned the stadium earlier, and the atmosphere inside the stadium. You called it a morgue, and it was. You know, it was soulless at times. And there are other grounds that I go to up and down the country that you walk into and you just don't get any form of a feeling that this is a place where you want to come. No. Now, I think down at the John Smiths, and you guys, again, more than I, we'll get that feeling. You know, when I've gone back this season, when I was at the opening day of the season, I went and had a bit of a mill around outside, and there was just this buzz around. And yeah, it might have been that Chelsea are in town, or it's just that people have bought into the football club again.
I don't think it might have. They played.
No, I don't think it would. I think you're right.
Could have been Cardiff, could have been whoever.
Yeah, it's just that it's got a different feeling around it as the football club now. It really does, from when we were first doing real radio phone-ins, and you know, it was dark days, and you're talking about, we're on an unbeaten run of 35 games, but Tuesday nights don't count those Tuesday nights.
We don't count Tuesday nights.
We don't count the cup games, or we don't
games.
count this. Yeah, exactly. You know, so they're not having to do stuff like that anymore because the club has moved so far forward since then.
But it was amazing what Dean said to you, because I asked the question, you asked it on my behalf, about how far is our facilities, and he was saying 1 million miles away, and he said it's been sizing up, they've been looking at other clubs. So while we think Canalside is, and Matt, you were saying it didn't get voted there. What was it?
Yeah, so in EPPP did an audit, I think, back in 2013, and in EPPP split out in category 1, 2, 3, 4 across the board. And when Ross Wilson was at Huddersfield, Huddersfield's Canalside facilities were, not voted, but they came out top in the rankings in category 2, which included Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds, Sheffield United at the time as well, who didn't have the...
Shirecliffe Academy.
I don't think they had that at the time. It's like a big factory, isn't it, when you go down there? But yeah, at that time, Huddersfield was ranked as the best.
Dean says
it's
nowhere a million miles away.
Yeah, so you wonder. So you do wonder. You think, because everyone's been to the Etihad, haven't you? You can walk around the campus there, and that is. That's next level, isn't it? But that no one's going to get close to that. But
you
do
when
wonder
we
how
town having a training pitch with a little stand outside of it. Come on, that's Huddersfield Town.
To be fair, about when Ken Davey was there, you'd have probably thought that's our new home ground.
Do you think as well, though, this is an interesting one, that let's say, and we hope it doesn't happen, let's say Huddersfield do go down, let's say the Canalside is developed with the money that's meant to be put in it, what do you think that would hold for the future of the youth element at Huddersfield Town? You know, because that's been a controversial aspect as well, hasn't it? Do you think down the line, because we see teams like Sheffield United and the young players that they've had come through and move on, and the money that you can get from doing that isn't small change, is it? So do you think that is also in the thoughts as well, moving forwards?
We might all differ on this one, but at the time that they've done it, I think it was the right thing to do. Because you've stepped up to the Premier League, and you look at the amount of players that Town have brought through, there's nobody at that level. And that's a problem. And people might say, yeah, but you got Premier League money, and it's only £20,000 a week and whatever else. It's £20,000 a week. Let's get real. This is a club who, 15 years ago,
£8,000 a week.
Were asking people for donations to stay alive, to pay players' wages. So let's not sniff at that kind of money just because we've now earned millions getting promoted. Further down the line, they might revisit it.
Yeah.
And I've no doubt if
that's
they
what I wonder whether
it's
they
right
will.
thing to do further down the line.
Yeah.
I've no doubt it will.
And they're competing. They will be competing. Always will be with other sides around here, but also the big clubs over the Pennines.
When you've got
within
Leeds and
within
Blackburn
that remit,
both at Manchester clubs and Liverpool running hubs.
Yeah.
Within Huddersfield region, you're going to.
But if you've got a better training facility, you might be able to attract those young players.
Further down the line when it comes back into play, but I think for what they've done now, for me, it was the right thing to do.
What do you reckon, Matt? Were you the opposite? I can't remember your view at the time.
I've not given my view on it. I'm gonna sit on it for a bit.
Splinters.
I know what we had in the academy at the time, and it was more of a question of structure for me than anything else. But we'll maybe do a podcast on that at some point. Kosi.
Maybe.
Liverpool, Saturday, 5:30. So obviously delighted to see that Virgil van Dijk. I didn't know Ronald Koeman were managing Liverpool now. When he announced that Virgil van Dijk will be fit and ready for Huddersfield away. So I don't know if Klopp's been sat in the international break, but Salah, I don't think he's playing. I think he flew home early, didn't he, from Egypt. Obviously, when I'm going here, I've got in a job for Sky. I'm not talking about Huddersfield. It's about opposition and that as well. Yeah. One of my mates.
Who are Liverpool playing?
One of my mates today said keeper Alisson will be sat against the post. He'll have his phone out on Saturday night, and then someone will shout, "Hang on a minute, mate! They might be coming down this end. You better stand up." They think it'll be pretty easy. But my gutting thing about this game is that we left, the Burnley game again, similar to Everton. Energy front foot.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
It kills
Killer,
it.
innit?
Yeah.
Killer.
But this is, the old cliche, the free hit, and we need something magical, something to change. I'm
It's written.
Can this be it?
We've not won. They've not lost.
They haven't won in 4 games, Liverpool. So on the quiet, they do a win. They're not
football, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not
it's
in
football.
the greatest shape,
strange things happen in football.
I wonder
if you don't go with any hope, what's point in going?
I wonder whether Klopp's going to go in with it because they've got Champions League next week. Whether he's going to try an half and half team. Salah maybe will be a sub.
Let's be honest.
What do you reckon?
Whatever team that they put out on Saturday is gonna be better than ours. So you've then it's fact, innit? So you've then got to look at everything's got to go your days like that. It's got to go your way.
Yeah.
Like the Man U game, it had to go our way. Everything. I mean, weather were atrocious. We've scored.
Score first,
Lindelof's had a nightmare.
atrocious,
Matt has had a nightmare.
But like you say, that's all it takes to happen.
It's all it takes. And if all your lads are 100 mile an hour for 90 minutes, you've always got a chance. Always.
But I think one of the losses this weekend they'll be Billing, won't it? He's come back from the under-21s because he's got what seems like an ankle injury.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's come back today. Yeah, so that's a big loss. We don't know how bad it is, but he's come back early to be monitored, which suggests it's not great for Saturday's prospects.
Unless it's
for
one
me,
of those where you try and get him fit for Saturday, they get him back, and Denmark are playing it right.
Yeah, for me, he's someone who has impressed me the most.
He's been our best player this season.
Yeah.
Fact.
I remember, Johnny, when you used to do kind of work with Eddie Gray. Eddie Gray said that Billing. I just remember him just saying when we did a show, Billing. He's just said player, didn't he? I don't think he said much more than that, did he?
No.
But
yeah, he's a player, isn't he? I've not seen a huge amount of him apart from your match of the day highlights last year and all that kind of stuff. But he's someone who's really impressed me.
He can be anything he wants to be,
and that's the question, though, isn't it?
Yeah, how much do you want it?
How much does he want it? There's times when he seems to just float in games at times. There was which game was it now? Was it the Spurs game when a ball was rolled out to him and he wasn't even looking? He was, he was sort of trotting off forwards. And they were 2-0 down at the time and it didn't result in anything. But you just at times go, that's what lets him down a little bit.
We mentioned it after the Everton game, didn't we? And he just coasted through that game. Yeah. But in a quality way, not a coasting as in he's not.
He just made everything look easy. Yeah.
He drifted through that midfield like he were just on ice. He just floated through it. And they've got a midfield that's worth 100 million up against him. And he ran that game. Billy were brilliant that game.
This feels like such a big weekend, boys, because there's 2 massive games this week. And again, my job for Sky's sorting a massive game, and it's all. But no, Newcastle v Brighton. And
You've got the voice for it. You've got the booming voice for it.
We were on about the table before, weren't we? Kind of taking a little bit of shape, and we're getting a bit of comfort that there's others down there. You mentioned Fulham, Matt, and Newcastle. We mentioned this week it's Cardiff v Fulham and Newcastle v Brighton. Now you're thinking if them 2 can't win, I mean, you'd think probably draws is good for us, but if Newcastle don't win that, and I know Brighton have kind of been pumping it up in the media and stuff, saying the fans are going to turn and what have you. I think they're big games because if they can't get a win in that, I think they'll be thinking, wow, this is going to be a long season. Where we kind of knew that last season and we're a bit more battle-hardened. It'll be interesting to see how they react, mate, because Fulham will probably go to Cardiff and think, we can win this. Cardiff surely are thinking, any chance, this is it.
That's got to be an
overwin. Newcastle against Brighton, obviously it's still the Ashley thing and demos every game. I think this is such a big weekend. Probably, if we're being honest, we know what our result is going to be. I don't want to be too down, but I think the other 2, if they do not win them games, then I'm thinking, well, they're there with us and we can overtake these.
And then again, I'm sure you guys, went to the John Smith of the Cardiff game and thought, right, if there's any game that's going to kick-start us, this is going to be it. And then that doesn't happen either, does it? So, people will look at those games and pick out, this is where we should be getting the points from, but it just does not work like that.
Aaron Moy's key as well, so apparently he left with a groin injury at the Burnley game, so hopefully he's fit, having pulled out the Australian squad. So Liverpool are... There are injuries being nursed for Mane, Salah, Oxlade-Chamberlain's out, Van Dijk's apparently fit, isn't he, Kosi? Lallana, James Milner, and Naby Keita got injured as well today, which is another plus.
You just need a sickness bug to go through camp, don't you, as well?
Hopefully they're playing their under
11s.
And hopefully that's it. And one player that should return for us from international duty, Mr. Kosmala, is Matthias Zanka Jorgensen, who... Again, every time a player goes away on international duty, there appears to be an article in Sports Witness, doesn't there, who they kind of use Google Translate or something, don't they, to try and twist maybe what sometimes a player has said. And with Zanka coming up to a contract expiration of 2020. There are some quotes that they've attributed towards him. Or someone, Kosi?
I mean, again, do you take this pinch of salt? It says, he wants to move to a bigger Premier League club. Larger Premier League clubs are, of course, a goal. I will reach a high level as possible. This summer I have a year left on my contract, and then we have to talk some things through. I mean, he's very honest, Zank. Obviously, we knew what he did with the fans last year, but it doesn't bother me too much. But
don't bother me at all.
No, it's not really.
If any player in the Premier League for Huddersfield Town, in looking and thinking, my career aim is to go and play for one of the top sides in this league, do we want him at Huddersfield Town?
Yeah.
You know, it's
that's only going to benefit Huddersfield Town.
It is. I mean, he hasn't had much slating for this, which I'm pleased about. Whereas when Van der Parra said something similar, he's been nothing but slated since. And it winds me up. But players have got ambition. They're not fans like us. It's a job.
There's no context to the conversation either, is there? So
and again, that's another social media issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know that you can read quotes in 280 characters or 240 characters, isn't it? Whatever it might be. Yeah. You can read quotes in that, and stand alone, they can almost read as whatever you want them to read.
He's leaving
without seeing. Yeah, you don't know what he said off the back of that.
No.
He might have then said, "But I love Huddersfield. Hopefully, we can get a new deal sorted. I want to be here for years." You don't know, but they've chosen that's the bit to use.
But if a player wants saying that he wants to be as you know at the best level he can be,
he's not saying I want to go in January, is he?
No.
You know, it's not like he's saying I want out before the club. You know, might find itself in bother.
Isn't it? It's the job.
It's their job. It just seems to be a lot of nothing.
I think the game under lights, though, is going to give us a bit better chance. Here comes. This could look stupid this time next week, but I think I like that setup. It's going to be dark lights, full house. You know, the BT Sport boys are in town. You know what? If you're a player, when we mentioned this before, what a chance to make yourself a legend, Neil. You know, it just. Wow, can you imagine that?
It's prime, isn't it? If they're not all bouncing off walls this week, ready to go there Saturday night, there's something wrong.
I just hope that we've gone from, because I thought both games against Liverpool last year we were really poor. The game at Anfield we were awful. I think we never got out of our zone half, to be honest with you. And the home game,
and they didn't play particularly well in that either. We gifted them.
We've got that out of the system, and we have a real good go. And again, mate, if you get beat, but we have a really good go, no one's going to argue.
It's the kind of game where you want to see, like when Dyer clattered Ramos last night. You want to see Johnny Ogg tearing through.
Those aren't yellow cards, are they? That
no, he's never seen a yellow card. It's a clean ball's gone, isn't it? Yeah. If you're going to put a tackle in, you are going to touch man. If you're going to put a tackle in like that, you're definitely going to touch man, aren't you?
It's like when players get sent off just for pushing. It's like, come on, if you're going to get sent off, at least well.
Let's knock him out.
Okay, so what I'll do is, since we've got a guest on the show, I'll put you on the spot, Johnny on the spot.
There's a feature.
We'll go.
Neil's layers.
Just going to rewind that one a second.
Oh, Neil,
so let's have a score prediction from you, Johnny.
Oh, for Saturday.
Kozi's usually good at these, ain't he, mate?
Brilliant, mate.
I do think Liverpool will be too strong. I think if Billing's missing, that's a big loss. We don't know what state Moy's in, like you've mentioned as well. Hopefully he'll be okay. I'm going to go for a hard-fought 2-1 defeat.
I thought we were going to say 4.
I did that. I was like...
As if I could do that. I'd never be welcome again. Get out.
I think 2-0 Liverpool. I don't see us scoring, but Sobi is back. So there's a lot of Town fans that sort of haven't seemed to realise that Ramadan Sobi has been injured since Man City.
He won't start.
He's not going to start, but he will be back.
I didn't know he came on against Man City, which probably said how much alcohol I took that morning afternoon.
Neil, you were saying before Kosi and Johnny turned up that they've done the latest fastest sprinters in the Premier League, and apparently Ramadan Sobi's jog on and off.
Down as the slowest in the Premier League.
Yeah, thanks to his jogging on and off of the pitch against Man City.
He came up for about a minute and a half at Man City.
He's done it. Come on. Is Danny Williams back from Wembley yet or not? Is he still there?
He's still there.
What all that about on Sunday? I thought I'd pressed NFL UK or somewhere.
Don't get me started on NFL. It's one of the worst sports going for me.
Do you think they could throw him in for Billing, or no chance he's even fit, Danny Williams?
He's not played any games. I don't
think it'd be a big
one. Played tonight and made an assist playing centre mid for Germany under 21s.
Severi, yeah.
And then Benz has assisted for Belgium under 21.
Really
I'd like to see him Benz start, mate. Saturday.
Well, I just don't think Town fans have seen enough of him yet.
No,
that's something that myself and Matt Glennon have spoken about a number of times. Get him in there.
Yeah, let's just see what happens now. Because this lad's supposedly going to cost us a lot of money.
I think
13.5 million.
You mentioned the fact that Town haven't been free scoring. We know that, but.
Not a statement.
I think that's fair to say.
Say what we do.
I've been polite.
One goal from open play in 5 months.
but was it the Everton game where you actually had quite a few set pieces, quite a few corners? Was that the Everton game? And ultimately, if you can get one of them, to be fruitful for you, that's all it takes. And it isn't going to be. I'm not saying that means it'll be the win against Liverpool, but what I'm saying is, if you predict a 2-1, the goal's got to come from somewhere. If it's going to come from anywhere, it's probably going to be a goal.
Game, we're going to have to start scoring first, aren't we?
That's it. I think. I can't remember what the stats were, but is it only...
we've got 2 points since we got promoted.
Yeah, the Championship wasn't much better either, was it?
And that was Southampton and Brighton away last year. 2 draws.
And we've obviously done one this season, haven't we?
Pretty
Burnley.
grim, innit?
And Burnley
and Burnley this season now, sorry.
So our last question on Twitter comes from Jared Mulligan, who says, all right, lads, top podcast. I'll linger on that for a second. Question for you guys to debate over, and Neil, this...
I hope you don't spoil it now with question.
No, why isn't radio... No, I'm joking. What's the ideal league setup? So as it's been international break, I've reflected on the league in general and find League One has it pretty sweet, with 46 games and no international break with more evening games. Obviously, that with top flight football would be my ideal league. Thought I'd throw that to you guys. So he sounds like he wants 24 teams in the Premier League.
Never happen. It'll go less before it goes. It'll never go more again. But it just kills it, doesn't it? And it's the start of the season. How many games have we played now? 8. And Championship have played what? About 14, something like that.
Yeah.
It's crackers, isn't it? So every time, we do these pods and there's a midweek game going on normally somewhere localish, and I miss that. I miss it. I miss a night match. I miss a night game at football.
Yeah,
by you, Kosi.
I do, midweeker.
Well, I probably watch every sport under the sun, but I went to watch Guiseley on Saturday. You know what made me really appreciate, kind of what we've got, because that was like proper football. It gives you a nice reality check on that.
Late winner though, wasn't there?
16. Yeah, the ball up, stayed in the wind. The keeper dropped it. It was just comedy. He could have put some, Walt Disney music to it and what have you. But yeah, to me, it's constant. It'll never happen this either. But the Premiership in rugby union, when the Six Nations is on, does not stop. Does not stop. The clubs still play the games. It'll never happen because obviously the top teams won't have their players.
There's too much money at stake.
Yeah, because that's the reason we play them midweek games where we've got Everton, we've got Wolves at home, we've got Bournemouth. Yeah, but for the ideal league, I think it is what it is now. To be honest with you, you're never gonna, don't about player burnout now. So that ain't gonna change.
Premier League had dropped to 18 before it went.
Absolutely. Yeah,
because if they're on about a Premier League 2, Neil, there's no way that'd continue. Rather than on about Premier League 2, that won't be 23, 46 games in that.
The only thing that I thought they might do further down the line is when all these teams are in money troubles and what have you, is maybe go north-south again, lower down. I'm not saying I would, but I think it's an option for
I like the German model. I like 3 tiers of 18 and the quality is better. But I'm a more of a less is more kind of guy. I know we've had some bad managers and seasons in the past, but sometimes I get to October and it's Saturday, Tuesday, and I get a bit football fatigued at this point. I just get another.
I'm football starved, mate.
It whets the appetite, doesn't it? And even if you got another game, you realise what you've got. You're on about north south. They played Brackley Town on Saturday. Don't even know what they still 158 miles to Guiseley. How's that north?
Yeah.
But obviously, it must be someone. Yeah, good old.
I don't know what you all complaining about, lads. I commentated on 67 games one season a couple of years ago. 67 games. It was great. It was a feast of football.
Why you're paid the big bucks, Johnny?
You've got to watch Bradford, Johnny. Our thoughts are here.
I'm just looking forward to the next World Cup when we all get Christmas to sit around, don't we? No football going on for months.
End the podcast.
What a sensible option that is.
They've completely killed that before they even kicked the ball, haven't they?
Yeah, ridiculous.
Shambles.
Yeah, so Harrogate Town as well, Kosi. Have you seen them this year?
Yeah, big money benefactor though, isn't there, behind them? Exactly like Salford.
Used to be Bill Fotherby, was that the guy that was there at one point?
Beat our under 19s last night, didn't they?
It's not him though anymore. Is it Simon? I forgot what his name is now, but yeah, they're.
It's a father and son chairman manager job, isn't it, at Harrogate?
You see that Leighton Orient had 7,000 against Hartlepool.
Really?
But when you looked into it, they're giving away free beer, which I don't know if I had anything to do with it. But when they played Hartlepool when they were in League Two and they were both struggling, they got 2,000. Yeah. So it just shows. I think this non-league day is a really good thing.
It's a good marketing play. I think that's really good.
It is. But I've never. That's what I'm seeing about football snobbery. I hate it though when people just. Yeah, I suppose it's the way it is. People just want to watch.
You only fill your stadium because it's free.
You know Chelsea Man United on Saturday in Sam, it'll be a letdown, mate.
Yeah, it will. Yeah,
it will. It'll be rubbish that Liverpool Man City game.
Oh, but the amount of games that are, the amount of Premier League games that are, Super Sunday. Yeah, whatever. It's not a Super Sunday.
There's no guarantee, is there, of quality in whoever's playing.
It's all marketing.
Anyway,
that's it.
Another subject.
I think that kind of finishes things off. So I think. With our podcast, Johnny, I'll let you do it first before Kosi does it. But if you want to sing us out, go for it. But if not, Richard Kosmala.
I mean, I'm going to entrust my old media hall friend, Richard Kosmala, to sing us out. But thanks for having me, lads.
No problem.
Oh, God,
thanks for joining us. Brilliant.
To sing it and that as well. But yeah, God, no more. It's done. Gracias. End of.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Pate's got a chance. Pate scores. Jack Pate scores. Heffer's in there. Smith scores for Huddersfield Town. 3-2 Town. Boris Jerry, Danny Ward saves! Danny Ward saves! De Quattro's in, round De Gea! 2-0 Huddersfield Town! Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!